Alright guys, it's been a couple of weeks since I made a video, and I actually I took down a bunch of videos. I'm gonna redo a bunch of stuff, especially about my bio, so just stay tuned for that. I'll be redoing some of the financial related, just my life story. I want to do it in a little different sequence, so you'll notice I took a bunch of videos down, and hopefully I'll get those knocked out over the next couple of weeks. But today I couldn't wait. My AWE tuning intake for the M3 just came. And I know intakes on modern cars, especially sports cars, are kind of controversial because I'm not going to make very much power, if any. AWE claims 12 horsepower, 10 foot-pounds of torque at the peak. The peak gains at the crank. So we're not looking at huge power gains here. I don't really care. I mean, when you see this thing, I'll zoom in here in a minute. I mean, the darn thing is a piece of work of art, and they did a really good job at matching, or pretty closely matching, the weave, as close as they could. That's usually one of the common complaints about the strut tower brace. Is a weird sort of weave that I've never really seen before in a carbon fiber. So this is a fully sealed intake system. This is sort of the Group M has one, I think. Dynan's is a little bit different, where they just sort of use the bottom of the factory air box and just put a sort of a new cover. So this gives us a whole new carbon piece, whole new carbon box that'll be sealed. We put the tube in. AWE provides us with the filters and everything. Pretty neat little design. I've never really dealt with turbo cars before, so this is a first for me. So I'm going to work on the install here tonight. I would assume we'll find out. I would assume this won't take too long. This is one of the first ones available. They probably this time, I'm guessing AWE waited to send me this a little later because they sent me the exhaust super early. And I think I released the video a lot sooner than I know I released the video a lot sooner than what they wanted me to. I wrote the whole post up, and I just screwed up and clicked submit, and I didn't save it, and I probably should have just deleted the post. Or actually, I don't have administrative rights on BimmerPost to delete the post, so I guess I could have just edited it and taken it out. But anyway, I'm sure they're okay with it because I know I've helped them sell a bunch of exhaust. In fairness, I bought this intake, so they gave me a discount because I'm going to make a video, and I'm a huge AWE advocate. But I'm just a customer, super diehard enthusiast customer. I really love what AWE does, and so they're not paying me to do this, or other than save me a few bucks on buying the intake, because I'm gonna make a video and let you guys all know what it's about and what it sounds like and what I think about it. At first glance, looks pretty stinking awesome. The carbon looks great. I mean, the thing's what, $1,600, $1,595, so it's obviously pretty expensive for an intake. But shoot, I remember spending that much on a single piece of carbon fiber for my Mugen AP1 S2000. So in a much higher end, much more expensive car, proportionally, it's a lot of money for an intake that really doesn't make much power. I'm kind of hoping it changes the induction sound. I can hear the turbos a little more, and it's part of it's for the look. And the other thing to keep in mind is, so if I spend $1,600 on this, I'm probably going to sell it for $900 when I'm done with it in 50 or 60 or however many thousand miles. So in my world, the fun of installing it, playing with it, looking at it, and hearing it, it's worth the sort of depreciation difference. If I take good care of it, install it properly, deinstall it properly, take good pictures of it, and there shouldn't be any reason why I can't sell it and recoup a good percentage of what I put into it. So it is expensive, but the car is expensive. So I think it kind of goes hand in hand. I know people get kind of bent out of shape about the M tax or the Porsche tax, and I agree to some extent. But if we want companies like AWE to exist, they have to make a profit, and they have to make a decent enough profit in order to invest back in R&D. So, as much as I want to keep my hard-earned money, there is, you know, I'm okay with helping sort of populate the car world with some cool stuff like this, because they can't invest the time, energy, R&D into this if they're not going to make some money on it. I mean, they've got to employ a staff, and they got to market this, and so on and so forth. So, and again, I'm just a guy. They're not paying me to say any of this stuff. So we're going to work on the install tonight. I'll just set the camera up, talk you through what I'm doing. I've never done an intake on an M3, at least not a F80 M3. I did an intake on my E92 M3, which was basically just a pipe and a couple of ram air scoops. So we're going to tear this thing apart and see how it goes. Again, I don't think it's too bad, but I've been known to eat those words. A QR reader that they put in, so you can scan it with your iPad. Personally, I'm not a big iPad guy. I don't really use an iPad very often, so I use my laptop, a MacBook Pro. So I have the instructions. I'm going to sort of zoom out so you can see, what I'm doing here. I have the instructions set up on my laptop over here on the table, and I'm going to just start working step by step on how this thing's on how this thing is going to be installed. Pulling straight up until it releases. So I'm going to remove the engine cover. Somehow, unlike the GT3 that I've taken apart so much, I haven't taken the M3 apart all that many times. So you just need to get access to this bolt here. By the way, my Dynatronics unit is here. Bug. So you got to remove the strut tower brace. Lots of aluminum and carbon fiber in here. That's what's so cool about this car. So get this week I was working on, actually what I was doing, I was at, I was doing something. I was sitting at the office, and I don't know, I checked on, I pulled something, or maybe I wasn't at the office, I forget where I was. But I pulled up Facebook, and I saw someone from the Central Florida BMW owners group mentioned something about, it was basically like saying, man, I wish we had something like this with a link. And he said, I wish we had something like this to, in our area. And it said myvillagesgarage.com. I assumed that when I saw Villages, I'm like, shoot, Villages, I live in the Villages. But I assumed it would be somewhere else in the country. So, but I clicked the link, pulled it up, and sure enough, it was My Villages, where I live. Couldn't believe it. So I check the website, and what it is, it's essentially like a garage co-op. So we're talking about a group of guys or people rent a space. And these were 1,250 square foot garage spaces with a 13-foot overhead door. And so I was freaking out. Call the guy, because I've mentioned this before. I intend to build a bigger garage than this one. This garage is really nice, but I want to have a lift, and I want to have an air compressor, and this garage is pretty much filled up. There's not really any room to do that. So, at least to do it as cleanly as I'd like to do. And then, you know, my wife's parking outside, so, you know, I would really want another garage, but it's going to cost me so much money because the way my lot is set up and my driveway's done, I'm going to have to, basically going to have to move the driveway and build a retaining wall, and it's going to cost so much money. And then the other problem is, you know, I'm going to build this monstrosity of a garage, and this is what I've been torn on this house, because we really love this house, is I'm never going to be able to sell the thing. You know, so I'm going to be stuck in this house forever. So instantly, and you know, this is how I usually work, instantly I realized, man, this would be a better solution for me to just lease a space, basically create a garage condo, if you will, where, you know, I just go out to, and then I can have more cars if I was fortunate enough to get those, and I'd have, I also really want to get a trailer to tow the GT3 or the M3 up to the mountains with my wife's Explorer. That's a 10 mil. So my wheels started turning instantly, you know, thinking this could be a better solution. Yeah, I'm going to pay rent for the rest of my life, but the rent, you know, assuming it wasn't all that expensive, really wouldn't be a killer, and it would be a lot less, probably long term, than what I'd spend on a garage here. And I would just sign a long-term lease, so that way I could do a lift, and, you know, put everything in it I want. So I get on the phone, I call the guy. What it is there's 18 spaces. There's 18 units. 9 on each side, and sort of down the center is where, you know, where you drive in, where the doors are. There's like a little 150 square foot office, 100 square foot office, a bathroom. Everything's insulated. It's like, I don't know, 16 foot ceilings. And then the floors are epoxied. So I call the guy. I'm like, I want to come out and see this. And he's like, all right, I'll meet you out there. I'm leaving to go out of town, but I'll meet you out there today. So I drove out there, you know, and the whole time I'm asking him all these questions, but I'm not asking the one most important question, which is, how much is this going to cost? You know, I'm just fearful that this is going to be really, really expensive. You know, and I had a sort of number in my head. There's the strut tower brace. Of, you know, what I was willing to, what I thought would be sort of reasonable, what I could afford, you know, if you will, or what I was willing to afford. So, all right, let me figure out what I need to do next, and I'll tell the rest of this story. Okay, strut tower braces off. All right, so anyway, so I fly out there. It's about 10 miles from my house, and that was another sort of point of contention, in that, you know, 10 miles isn't bad. It's like 15 minutes from my house, maybe 17 minutes from my house. It was like 13 minutes from my office, so not unreasonable, but not super close, especially as much time as I spend in the garage. Naturally, my wife was like, well, shoot, I don't know about all this. You're going to be over there all the time. And I agreed. I said, you know, I kind of like walking out here in my underwear, jerking around in the garage. So, you know, that was it. That was a point of contention. But anyway, I went out. I wanted to see it. And basically, you know, this guy had built a facility like this. These, you know, a lot of towns have these where it's specifically like at racetracks and stuff like that, where you sort of build a condo-like setup. Well, you know, I dreamed of that, but I didn't think in a million years it would be anything like that by, you know, near my house, you know, in the middle of nowhere. Be careful not to over tighten as you do any damage. Unclip the mass outflow sensor from the wiring harness. Okay, so I'm going to unclip this, and then I'll put it into Molex, and plugs in me always have a problem out there. And I meet with the guy. You know, I'm asking all kinds of questions, you know, and I'm trying not to sound too excited. You know, I'm a terrible negotiator. And I'm trying not to sound like super excited about this whole concept. You know, he's complaining to me, and I'm sitting, you know, we're sort of standing outside, and really in my mind, I'm like, let's freaking go. I want to go inside and look at this thing. So we finally go inside, and sure enough, one of my biggest concerns was, you know, I want to drain. That's part of the point, is to get out of the Florida sun. I mean, look at me. I'm white as crap. For me to go out and go in the sun is just not smart. There we go. An easy idiot. All right, so I got to the guy. I'm trying to contain my excitement. Ask him all kinds of questions. Well, what about a floor drain? We haven't gone inside yet. What about a floor drain? And he's like, yeah, I put floor drains in all these. I'm like, oh, sweet. I didn't think for a million years he would have done that. In a million years they would have done that. And then I'm like, well, what about, what about the flooring? He already epoxied the floor. I said, can I put my own flooring in? I'd want to do Swiss Trax flooring. He said, yeah, absolutely. I want to put cabinets in. Sure. The thing was drywalled. The lighting was awesome. It was basically exactly what I wanted. Perfect. Other than it being 10 miles from my house. I don't know, some of you guys that drive a lot are probably screaming at the screen saying, 10 miles, who freaking cares? I've gotten accustomed to doing everything locally here now that I live in the middle of nowhere. So, we finally go inside and I look at the place and I'm like, oh, it's perfect. It's 25 feet wide by 50 feet deep, so it's 1,250 square feet of awesome. Lighting's pretty decent. You've got 220 plumbed for doing air compressor, the whole deal, all set up, perfect. So finally, after 20 minutes of conversation and looking at everything up and down, there's a bathroom in each unit. I say, well, what's the price? And at this point, I'm thinking it's going to be $2,800 a month. I don't know. I have zero reference for what something like this costs. I don't know what storage units cost. I don't keep crap to need a storage unit. And so, I penciled in my brain again something like, like $800 a month or $1,000 a month, and then now I'm sort of trying to convince myself that I would do it if it was $2,500 a month. And although that would be just completely retarded, I understand that. And he said $750 a month, and I almost had a heart attack. I almost started jumping up and down, running around in circles, and he could probably see the excitement in my face. I said, "What about air conditioning? Because they're not air conditioned." He said, "Well, if you want to do air conditioning, we can put like a 3-ton unit on here, and you just pay like maybe I will own the air conditioning unit, and you just pay more for it." So I was like sold. I definitely want air conditioning. That's the whole point. I want to be able to wash cars inside, do this kind of stuff without sweating my rear end off every time I'm out there. So he said, yeah, we can definitely do that. So anyway, you would think that I would have signed the lease right then and there, but I haven't, and I'm probably not going to yet. I'm just not ready for that big of a space yet. I mean, I just finished this garage. So I got some time before I'm ready to do that, but now I know what I'm going to do. I know that's what I want to do rather than trying to build this ridiculous garage and ruin the value of my house. All right, so back to the deal here. So anyway, I'm going to do that. I'm working with one that's a little bit closer to my house to build me something. So stay tuned for that. You guys will have a fun time watching me do that. Really would be pretty cheap to do. All I got to do is buy Swiss Trax flooring and cabinets and an air compressor. Oh, and a lift. So, not all that much more than here. And if it's close enough, I can use the same set of tools. And then maybe expand my tool collection as time goes on. All right, using a flat blade screwdriver, loosen the hose clamps. I don't think there's really much reason for me to talk you through this. This is pretty easy. if you buy this, then you can just follow the directions. All right, hose clamp 1, hose clamp 2. Probably have to take, no, I don't need to take that mass airflow sensor off. Remove the 11-meter bolt holding the coolant expansion tank. Coolant expansion tank. I think I probably already did that. Oh, well, maybe I did that. Let's see here. Carefully pull straight up on each side of the airbox. Ah. There's the factory box. Out. Okay. Okay, there's an 11-millimeter bolt right here. Pull the coolant tank out. Out of the rubber mount and move aside. No, that's not 11 millimeters. It's not even 10 millimeters. Close enough, boys. I'll shoot them an email and tell them they need to fix their directions. Not that it really matters. I think it's 8 millimeters. I sort of am, because I've done so much of this stuff now that I'm 35 years old. I used to do this crap and it always would go wrong. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have to sit there and read the directions 15 times. Now I could probably do this without reading the directions, even though I've never done this car. You just kind of reason it out because I've screwed things up so many times that. Okay, there we go. All right, the coolant tank set aside. Now we need to assemble. Let's add a little ISO here so you can see what the heck I'm doing. All right, let me get these out of the way so I don't scratch them. So yeah, this is the one that goes here. Okay, so this piece is to go on like that. Trying to figure out which filter goes on here. I'm sure there's a specific way this goes. I would think it's like that. Yep. Shoot! No damage. Not smart, Maddie. Let me get a towel. Don't do that. I wonder if I should just put this thing on here, and then I wonder if this can go in after the fact. Looks like it can. It's hard to get this thing in here. Well, I guess it only goes in. Yeah. Only goes in a few inches, or like a quarter of an inch. Why don't I read the directions? How's that sound? Pre-assemble the driver's side carbon air box by fastening the carbon fiber tube to the air box using a 3mm hex tool. Slide button head bolts into or which one it is. All right, guys, I got the thing attached. I set 2 sets of screws or 2 sets of bolts. You know, obviously one of them doesn't work. You need to use the right one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. You just have to be real careful. You know, it's carbon fiber, so you know some of the resin probably gets in the thread. So you just kind of have to slowly work it in. You don't want to tighten the crap out of this thing. Just so that it's just hand tightened is all you really need. So now I'm going to put the filter in. I'm not really sure if it's supposed to go, how far it's supposed to go in. I guess it's only supposed to go, there's like a little groove right here. I guess it's only supposed to go that far. All I have to do is try to tighten it down and we'll see. We'll see if this squeezes it off or squeezes it on. Good. Oh, nice and tight. Cool. All right. Nothing's touching inside here. So let's put this in the car. So if you actually knew what you were doing, it looks like this would take no time at all. I'm just sort of figuring it out as I go along here. Let me try to sneak this by here. Not sure if I got it. I think I did. Let's see how does this work. Okay, yeah, it just sort of sits on there. Fits perfectly. It's right on the factory snorkel. Nice. All right, minor setback, fixed now. Here's the intake, and I'll show you more what it looks like, but I actually broke this bolt right here. Luckily I had something in my bag of tricks to bolt it back in there. I had to tap it out and unscrew it. This is a little shaky, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I put the screw back in because it doesn't attach to the new one. All right, so now I have to take the other airbox out. Let me, this is good. This is good. I'm just tighten this down. I'm messing around here. Right. Just take the map sensor off. Actually, let's just unclip it first. The factory box. So let's take it off the factory box. Got to get a new darn 1/4 inch. Fits okay. Does the job. All right, so let's go back to this. Let's fit the box in. Beautiful. Nice and tight. This airflow sensor, torque this down. We're back in the game. All I gotta do is put the covers on. Make sure, oh, I gotta put the strut tower brace back on. Tight. Looks good. Make sure I got this right. Yeah, it's like the cover's right on the frickin' edge. Get something to put in there. Like moisture sealing electrical tape. At least it'll keep it vibrating around. That should be good. Just wipe it down with some detail spray, clean up my mess. Oh, let me put the strut tower brace back on first. Looks pretty sick. Easier to take that crap off, but just got a little lazy there. Let's see. You guys can see a little better from here. I'm gonna be careful with this because we're bolting into aluminum, so you don't want to strip it out. I have a feeling these are going to drive me freaking nuts trying to put back in here. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, the weave's a little different, but I'm guessing, this, I've never seen a carbon weave like on this strut tower brace because of the way it's curved. I find it hard to believe that this thing does anything. It just looks cool. If I were gambling, I would say this just makes it look cool. Make sure there's nothing underneath there. Certainly looks good. That I'll give it to you. Again, $1,500, $1,600 for an intake that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of power may seem crazy to a lot of people, but I'll probably have this car for a while. At least my wife says I will, based on our contract. So, but when I'm done with this, I mean, it's not like it's going to degrade it's not like it's going to depreciate in quality. I think it'll last forever. So, all I'll do is keep it clean, just don't scratch it up, and when I'm done with it, I'll sell it. Or I'll put it on the next M3, assuming I still have an F80. Again, I don't think you want to torque these down too much. Out of laziness, I tend to tighten things by feel. I know some people will get a little tweaked about me doing that, but hasn't led me astray yet in life. Put this back in place. Assume I know what I'm doing here. It's not looking promising. There's definitely a difference between putting a 911 back together and taking a 911 apart, putting it back together, than an M3. The 911, everything comes apart smooth as butter. It goes right back the way it came. M3, not quite as much. And it's not bad, but certainly not GT3 like. The heck does this thing go on here? There we go. Guess that's how it goes. But I don't forget to tighten down the strut tower brace. It's never good when you have leftover parts. Don't know where that goes. And this is nothing like the freaking GT3. Although much better than an American car, not. Now, granted, I'm a bit of an idiot when it comes to this stuff, but still, gee whiz. Be that hard. It's not so smooth. So that's the way it goes. All right, let me clean this up. All right, certainly looks cool. Now I'm about to find out if it sounds cool, which is what I really care about. Well, I guess I care that it looks cool too, but Just gonna get the fingerprints off. Dialed in. Love it. Now comes the fun part. I mean, I don't know when I'll get this video uploaded, but I'll make make some audio videos, you know, of in-car footage. That's what it looks like. Pretty cool. Sort of completes the engine bay, I think. Super clean looking. I like it.